Why did the man who seemed to have everything sing so often about being alone? Was the bright smile just for the camera and the screaming crowds? What happens when the music stops, the lights go down, and a king is left by himself in an empty room? The answers might be hiding in plain sight in the grooves of the records he made. Number 20, why was his first big hit about a lonely street? Elvis Presley was only 20 years old when he recorded Heartbreak Hotel. The song was inspired by a real newspaper article about a man who had destroyed his identity papers and left a note that simply said, "I walk a lonely street." And RCA Records, his new label, was deeply worried about the song. They thought it was morbid and strange, completely unlike the upbeat rock and roll they expected from him. Heartbreak Hotel was not a teenage love song. It was his grand introduction to the world on a major label, and he chose to sing about absolute despair. He sings about a place at the end of Lonely Street, a place where broken-hearted lovers go to cry. The desk clerk is dressed in black. The bellhop's tears flow. It's a grim picture. The music itself is just as bleak. The piano plays a dark, tumbling blues riff. The bass walks a slow, tired line, and Elvis's voice is soaked in echo. That echo was a deliberate choice. Producer Sam Phillips at Sun Records had used a slapback echo to make Elvis sound energetic and big. But here, the RCA engineers used a different kind of echo. It was the sound of a huge, empty hall. It made him sound isolated. He sounds like he is singing alone in a vast, cold room. This wasn't the sound of a young man on the verge of superstardom. It was the sound of someone who already understood what it meant to be fundamentally alone. Think about his childhood. He grew up in a tiny two-room house in Tupelo, Mississippi. He was a twin, but his brother, Jesse Garon, was stillborn. He grew up as an only child, carrying the weight of being the one who survived. His mother, Gladys, was intensely protective of him. Their bond was everything, but that kind of intense connection can also create a sense of isolation from the rest of the world. He was her whole world, and she was his. When he recorded Heartbreak Hotel, he was on the cusp of a level of fame no one had ever seen before. Maybe he sensed what was coming. Fame is not about connection, it's about separation. It puts a wall of light and noise between you and everyone else. The song describes a place filled with broken people, but they aren't together. They are just a collection of lonely souls in one place. Each one is trapped in their own private sorrow. This song set the stage for his entire career. He would sing countless upbeat, happy songs. But the theme of loneliness would never go away. Like, it was there from the very beginning. His first million-selling single for his new, powerful record label was a declaration of loneliness. He was telling us who he was from the start. We were just too busy dancing to listen to the words. The hotel he sang about was not just some fictional place. It was a state of being he would come to know all too well. Graceland, his mansion in Memphis, would become his own luxurious Heartbreak Hotel. A beautiful, grand place where he would end up feeling trapped and profoundly alone. Number 19, was he singing to a person or to the industry? Big Mama Thornton first recorded Hound Dog in 1952. Her version is a raw, powerful blues song sung from a woman's perspective to a worthless, cheating man. When Elvis recorded it in 1956, the lyrics were changed. The song became faster, more aggressive, and it became one of his most iconic rock and roll anthems. But the story behind his performance reveals a deep humiliation. On July 1st, 1956, he was forced to perform the song on The Steve Allen Show. The producers, trying to tone down his controversial stage presence, made him sing it to an actual basset hound wearing a top hat. Elvis was mortified. He was a serious artist, and they were treating him like a joke, a novelty act. Listen to the anger in his definitive studio recording of Hound Dog, made the very next day. It's more than just rock and roll swagger. There is a real bitterness in his voice. He snarls the lyrics. "You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit, and you ain't no friend of mine." On the surface, it's a song about telling off someone useless, but what if he wasn't singing to a person? What if he was singing to the industry that was trying to control him? The Colonel, his manager, was already packaging him, selling him, and taking a huge cut. The television producers were trying to sanitize him. The critics were calling him vulgar. They didn't see him as an artist. They saw him as a product. A hound dog. Something to be paraded around for their own benefit. You said you was high-classed. Well, that was just a lie. The music industry, Hollywood, the media, they all presented themselves as high class. But behind the scenes, it was a ruthless business. They were using his talent, his energy, his youth, and they were trying to shape him into something safe and marketable. The humiliation of singing to a literal dog was just the most obvious example of this. His performance is a rebellion. It's him taking their silly, sanitized version of rock and roll and injecting it with a furious, untamable energy. The guitar solo is frantic, the drumming is relentless, and his voice is a weapon. He is pushing back against the people who thought they could own him. He was their moneymaker, he was their star, but in that recording booth, he was telling them he knew what they were. They were just using him, they weren't his friends. This song became a massive hit. The public heard a fun, rebellious rock song. But for Elvis, it must have been tied to that moment of intense embarrassment. It was a turning point. He was becoming too big to control, but the attempts to control him would never stop. He would spend the next 2 decades battling for his own artistic identity against the very people who were making him a star. Hound Dog is not just a song about a no-good person. It's the sound of a young artist fighting back against a machine that saw him as less than human. A performing animal, a hound dog. Number 18, What Does a Prison Party Say About Fame? The song Jailhouse Rock was written by the legendary team of Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller for the 1957 film of the same name. Their publisher, Gene Aberbach, famously locked them in their New York hotel room, blocking the door with a sofa, and refused to let them out until they had written the songs for the movie. They wrote Jailhouse Rock in about 5 hours under duress. The song is one of the most energetic and exciting recordings of the 1950s. It's a full-blown party. The warden threw a party in the county jail. The prison band was there, and they began to wail. Everyone is dancing and having a great time. It sounds like pure, uncomplicated fun. But look at the setting. It's a jail. The defining feature of a jail is that you cannot leave. The characters are inmates, prisoners. They're all trapped. The party is a temporary distraction from the reality of their confinement. And in 1957, Elvis Presley was living in a new kind of prison, the prison of fame. By this point, he was the most famous person in the world. He could no longer walk down the street. He couldn't go to a diner. He couldn't live a normal life. He was surrounded by people, but he was isolated. His world was shrinking, even as his fame grew. Graceland was his sanctuary, but it was also his cage. The gates were there to keep the fans out, but they also kept him in. The song describes this perfectly. The whole rhythm section was the Purple Gang. These are not good guys, they are criminals. In his own life, Elvis was surrounded by his entourage, the Memphis Mafia. They were his friends, his employees, his bodyguards. They created a protective wall around him, but they also cut him off from the outside world. They lived by his rules, on a schedule. It was a strange, insular community, a jailhouse of its own. Let's rock, everybody. Let's rock. Everybody in the whole cell block was dancing to the Jailhouse Rock. The energy is infectious, but it's frantic. It's the energy of people with no other outlet. They are dancing because it's the only freedom they have within their 4 walls. For Elvis, performing was his outlet. On stage, he could be free. He could connect with thousands of people at once. But when the show was over, he went back to his cell block. Back to the hotel room, back to Graceland, back to the movie set. The song is a brilliant hidden metaphor for his life, a life that looked like a wild party from the outside. But from the inside, the walls were closing in. Everyone was dancing, but no one was going anywhere. It was a party in a prison, and he was the star inmate, the one everyone was watching, the one who led the dance, but the one who was just as trapped as all the rest. Number 17 is a song about a teddy bear, really about love. Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear was another hit from a movie, Loving You, released in 1957. On the surface, it's the definition of a sweet, harmless pop song. A young man telling a girl he doesn't want to be a tiger or a lion, symbols of power and aggression. He just wants to be your teddy bear, something to cuddle, something safe and comforting. It sold over 2 million copies. But the plea to be a teddy bear is a plea for passivity. A teddy bear is an object. It has no will of its own. It doesn't act. It is acted upon. It is there to provide comfort, to be held, to be put on a shelf. It has no needs or desires of its own. It is completely dependent on its owner for its purpose. In 1957, Elvis's life was no longer his own. He was being pulled in every direction by Colonel Tom Parker, by the movie studios, by the record label. His schedule was relentless. He made movies he didn't like. He sang songs he didn't choose. He was being turned into an image, a product, a safe, lovable commodity for mass consumption. He was being asked to be a teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck and lead me anywhere. This is a shocking line in a supposedly sweet pop song. It speaks of a complete surrender of control, a desire to be owned, to be led. It's a fantasy of submission. Why would the most powerful, rebellious figure in popular culture sing about wanting to be put on a chain? Perhaps it was a cry of exhaustion. The pressure of being Elvis Presley was immense. He had to be the rebellious rocker, the charming movie star, the polite Southern boy. He had to manage the expectations of millions of fans, his family, and his business partners. Maybe the fantasy of just giving up, of letting someone else make all the decisions, was incredibly appealing. To just be an object, to have no responsibility, to simply be loved without having to do anything. There's also a deep sadness in it. A teddy bear is a child's toy. It's a symbol of innocence. Elvis was forced to grow up incredibly fast. He went from a poor truck driver to a millionaire in a couple of years. He was dealing with adult pressures and a level of fame that would break most people. The song could be seen as a longing for a lost childhood, a wish to go back to a simpler time when all you had to be was a beloved toy, safe in a child's room. So, while millions of teenage girls heard a romantic invitation, the song hides a tragic narrative. It's the story of a man losing his autonomy. A man who is so overwhelmed by the demands of his life that he fantasizes about becoming an inanimate object free from the burden of choice and the crushing weight of being the king. Number 16, What is a Love Song? A Desperate Plea for Kindness. Don't Be Cruel was the B-side to Hound Dog. It became a massive hit in its own right, and the two songs together formed one of the best-selling and most influential singles in music history. It has a relaxed, swinging groove. Elvis's vocal is smooth and confident. It sounds like a guy coolly telling his girl to treat him right. But the lyrics tell a different story. They are not confident. They are desperate. He is begging. Don't be cruel to a heart that's true. It's a plea. He feels he's been misunderstood, and he is pleading for a little bit of tenderness. The song was written by Otis Blackwell, a prolific songwriter who also wrote Great Balls of Fire and All Shook Up. Blackwell sold the song for a fraction of its worth, and, as was common practice with Colonel Parker, had to share the songwriting credit with Elvis, even though Elvis didn't write it. This was part of the business. Be a part of the Elvis machine or be shut out. Elvis's performance makes the song. He sings the lines with a sincerity that goes beyond the simple lyrics. When he sings, "I don't want no other love, baby, it's just you I'm thinking of," there's a vulnerability there. It's the sound of someone who has put all his faith in one person and is terrified of being hurt. This reflects a central part of Elvis's own life. His relationships were often intense and complicated. His relationship with his mother was the defining one of his early life. After she died in 1958, he was adrift. He was searching for that same level of unconditional love and loyalty for the rest of his life. Think about the world he lived in. The media was often cruel. Critics attacked him. Religious leaders condemned him. The establishment was suspicious of him. He was constantly being judged and misinterpreted. He was surrounded by people who wanted something from him: his money, his fame, his time. True, simple kindness might have been a rare commodity. Okay. Don't Be Cruel can be heard as a message to everyone. To his romantic partners, yes. But also to his fans, his critics, his business associates, to the whole world. It's a simple request. I am giving you my heart, my talent, my true self. Please don't break it. Please don't be cruel. The relaxed beat of the song is deceptive. It masks the raw need in the lyrics. It's the sound of someone trying to play it cool while their heart is on the line. He's acting tough, but he's really just a scared kid hoping he won't get hurt. It's one of his most beloved songs, but it's also one of his most vulnerable. A simple, direct plea for the one thing fame and money could never guarantee: genuine human kindness. Number 15, how can a song about falling in love sound so resigned? Can't Help Falling in Love is one of Elvis's most enduring and beautiful ballads. It was featured in the 1961 film Blue Hawaii. The melody is based on Plaisir d'amour, a French love song from 1784. The song is a staple at weddings. It is seen as the ultimate romantic statement. But listen to it again. The tone is not one of joyful, exuberant love. It is slow, somber, almost like a hymn, and Elvis's performance is tender but also deeply melancholic. There is a sense of resignation, of inevitability in his voice. This is not a song about the thrill of choosing to love someone. It is a song about the powerlessness of falling in love. Wise men say only fools rush in. But I can't help falling in love with you. He starts by acknowledging that what he is doing is foolish. It's against all reason. He is not in control of his feelings. Love is not a choice. It is something that is happening to him. A force he is powerless to resist. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin? This is a strange question for a simple love song. It introduces the idea of morality, of right and wrong. It suggests that this love might be forbidden or dangerous. It adds a layer of conflict and doubt. True love, in most pop songs, is presented as pure and unquestionably right. Here, there is hesitation. Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. This is the core of the song's tragedy. He compares his love to a force of nature. A river has no choice but to flow to the sea. It is its destiny. It cannot turn back or change its course. He is saying that his love is the same. It is his destiny. And destiny is not about happiness. It is simply about what must be. By 1961, Elvis was deep into his Hollywood career. He was living a life that was largely mapped out for him by Colonel Parker and the studios. He had very little creative control. His days were scheduled, his movies were formulaic, his life was a path he was on, not one he was actively choosing. He was like a river flowing along a predetermined course. This song, sung with such gentle sadness, feels like a commentary on his entire existence. He couldn't help falling into the life he had. It was meant to be. This wasn't a celebration of fate. It was a quiet, sad acceptance of it. He was a passenger in his own life, carried along by the currents of fame and obligation. So while couples dance to this song at their weddings, celebrating the start of their chosen life together, the song's hidden narrative is one of compulsion, not choice. It's the beautiful, heartbreaking sound of a man accepting his fate, for better or for worse. He is giving in to a force greater than himself, and he knows there is no turning back. Number 14 is Return to Sender, a funny song about rejection. Released in 1962, Return to Sender is a catchy, upbeat pop rock song. It has a playful saxophone solo and a fun, sing-along chorus. The story is simple. A guy writes a letter to his girlfriend after a fight. He mails it, but it keeps coming back to him with messages like, Return to Sender, address unknown, no such person, no such zone. It's treated as a light-hearted tale of romantic frustration, but the experience it describes is one of complete and total rejection. It's not just a no, it's an erasure. His girlfriend is not just refusing to talk to him. She is pretending he doesn't exist. She is pretending she doesn't exist at that address anymore. It is a communication breakdown in its most absolute form. He sends a letter, it's a tangible effort to connect, and it is sent back, rejected by the system. He tries again, sending it special delivery. A more urgent, more costly attempt to get through. It comes back again. The system itself is telling him that the person he is trying to reach is gone and vanished. Think about Elvis's life at this time. He was the king of Hollywood. He was making 3 movies a year. He was more famous and more isolated than ever. Who could he really talk to? Who could he trust? He was surrounded by people who were paid to be there. He was sending out his art, his performances into the world, but was he getting any real, honest feedback? Or was he just getting back the same packaged response from the studios and the Colonel? Great job, kid. Here's the next script. The core of the song is a man trying to make a connection and being met with a void. No such person. It is a profoundly lonely experience. His attempts to communicate are futile. He is speaking, but no one is listening. His existence is being denied by the one person whose recognition he craves. The upbeat music acts as a mask for this bleak scenario. It's a classic musical trick, set a sad story to a happy tune. It makes the sadness more palatable, but it also makes it more poignant. We are tapping our feet to a story of profound disconnection and emotional abandonment. Elvis sings it with a kind of cheerful desperation. He's still trying, still hoping, but the reality of the situation is grim. His love is not just unrequited, it's being actively and systematically erased. The song is a perfect pop-sized parable for the loneliness that comes from being unable to truly connect with another person. It's a bright, sunny-sounding song about a man shouting into the void and hearing nothing back but the echo of his own voice. Number 13, What If the Devil in Disguise Was His Own Image? So, You're the Devil in Disguise was a huge international hit in 1963. It's a driving rock and roll song with a cynical edge. The lyrics describe a woman who seems perfect on the outside, walks like an angel, talks like an angel, but is actually deceitful and cruel on the inside. You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are. It's a classic song about betrayal, but consider who Elvis was in 1963. He was at the peak of his movie star phase. He was making films like Fun in Acapulco and Kissin' Cousins. He was presented to the world as this clean-cut, handsome, charming hero. He always got the girl, won the race, and sang a few songs along the way. His public image was angelic, wholesome, safe, and family-friendly. But that wasn't the real Elvis. The real Elvis was the raw, dangerous, revolutionary figure who had burst onto the scene in the 1950s. The one who shook his hips and scandalized a nation. The one who loved the blues and gospel music with a deep, spiritual passion. That Elvis was gone, hidden away. He had been replaced by a clean, polished Hollywood version of himself. This song could be read as Elvis singing about his own public image. The image walks like an angel and talks like an angel. It's perfect. It's what the studios and the Colonel wanted, but it was a disguise. It was a lie, and it was destroying him from the inside. I thought I was in heaven, but I was sure surprised. Heaven help me. I didn't see the devil in your eyes. Fame, at first, must have seemed like heaven. The money, the adoration, the success, but he became trapped by it. Trapped by the image he had to maintain. That angelic image was the devil in disguise. It promised him everything but took away his artistic soul. He was bored and frustrated with the movies he was making. He longed to get back to real, live performing. He felt like a phony. He was playing a character, not just in his films, but in his public life. The song is full of bitterness and regret. You're fooling me with your kisses. You're cheating on my love. The public loved the movie star Elvis, but it felt like a betrayal of the real artist he was. The performance is intense. He sings it with a real snarl. It's not just a song about a bad girlfriend. It's a howl of protest from a man trapped inside a golden cage. He is pointing the finger, but the accusation is turned inward. He is looking in the mirror at the smiling, handsome movie star and seeing a devil, a sellout, a stranger who has stolen his life. Number 12 is Viva Las Vegas, a celebration or a warning. Viva Las Vegas, from the 1964 film of the same name, is the ultimate anthem for the city of sin. It's a blast of pure energy. The lyrics celebrate the endless fun and excitement of Las Vegas. The bright lights, the gambling, the beautiful women, the 24-hour A-day action. Gonna set my soul. It's gonna set my soul on fire. It sounds like the greatest party on earth, but the song is also a story of addiction. The language is the language of a man who is completely consumed by something he cannot control. The city has a hold on him, but he needs a strong heart and a nerve of steel. This isn't a casual vacation. This is a high-stakes battle. Bright light city gonna set my soul on fire. Fire is not a gentle metaphor. It is destructive. It consumes everything. He is not just having fun. He is being burned up by the experience. The pace of the song is frantic, relentless. It never stops for a breath. Just like Vegas itself. It's an artificial city in the middle of the desert that never sleeps. The lights are always on. The machines are always running. I'm going to keep on the run. I'm going to have me some fun if it costs me my very last dime. This is the classic addict's mindset. The pursuit of the high, the fun, is all that matters, regardless of the consequences, even if it leads to ruin. If I wind up broke, well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time. He is mortgaging his future for a moment of present pleasure. This song is tragically prophetic. Las Vegas would become the city that defined the final act of Elvis's career. It was the site of his triumphant comeback in 1969, but it also became his prison. He performed hundreds of shows there, trapped in a grueling schedule of 2 shows a night. He was living in a hotel suite, isolated from the real world. The city of no clocks became his life. Day and night blurred into one. The lifestyle described in the song, the constant stimulation, the lack of rest, the high-stakes pressure, is the very lifestyle that would contribute to his decline. He was living the song, and it was costing him more than his last dime. It was costing him his health, his creativity, and ultimately his life. So when we hear Viva Las Vegas, it's easy to get swept up in the excitement. But beneath the surface, it's a dark, cautionary tale. It's the sound of a man joyfully running toward his own destruction. It's a celebration of the very things that would trap and consume him. The brightest lights often cast the darkest shadows. Number 11. Who was he begging in? It's now or never. In 1960, after 2 years in the U.S. Army, Elvis Presley needed a huge comeback record. He chose to adapt O Sole Mio, a classic Neapolitan song from 1898. With new English lyrics, it became It's Now or Never. The record was a massive global success, selling over 20 million copies. It showcased a new, mature Elvis. His voice was richer, more operatic. This wasn't a rebellious rocker, this was a world-class vocalist. The song is a passionate, urgent plea to a lover. It's now or never, come hold me tight. Kiss me, my darling, be mine tonight. Tomorrow will be too late, it's now or never, my love won't wait. The stakes are incredibly high. This is the last chance for love. But who was he singing to? On one level, it was to his audience. He had been away for 2 years. The music world had changed. New stars had emerged. He needed to prove that he was still relevant, that his fans were still there. He was telling them it's now or never. Accept this new, more mature Elvis, or I might fade away. My love won't wait. His talent, his moment was perishable. He had to seize it. On a deeper, more personal level, the song reflects the immense pressure he was under. He had left for the army at the absolute peak of his fame. Everyone, including Elvis himself, was terrified that his career was over. He had to succeed. There was no room for failure. This record, this moment was everything. It was literally now or never for his career. You know, you can hear the strain and the power in his voice. He pushes it to its limit, ending on a soaring, powerful high note. It's a stunning technical performance, but it's also an emotional one. It's the sound of a man putting everything he has into a single moment, knowing that his entire future depends on it. The lyrics take on a new meaning in this context. When I first saw you with your smile so tender, my heart was captured, my soul surrendered. He is singing about his love for his music, for his audience, for his career. It had captured him completely when he was young. Now, he was afraid of losing it. The song is not a relaxed, confident seduction. It is a demand, a desperate, high-stakes gamble. The grand, operatic scale of the music matches the scale of what was at risk. He wasn't just trying to win a girl. He was trying to win back the world, and the unspoken fear in the song is devastating. What if he fails? What happens after never? The song ends on the high note, on the plea. It leaves the question hanging in the air. For Elvis in 1960, the answer was a resounding success, but the pressure to constantly live in that now or never moment would follow him for the rest of his life. Number 10 is Are You Lonesome Tonight? A song or a confession? Recorded in 1960, Are You Lonesome Tonight? Was a song that was already decades old. It was a favorite of Colonel Parker's wife, and he pushed Elvis to record it. The track is famous for its spoken word bridge, adapted from Shakespeare. Elvis's performance is intimate and vulnerable, as if he's speaking directly to a single listener in a dark room. The song asks a series of painful questions. Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? He is speaking to a former lover, but he could just as easily be speaking to himself, or to his audience, wondering if they missed him while he was away in the army. The real tragedy is in the spoken bridge. He describes a play where he and his lover were the stars. The stage is bare, and I'm standing there with emptiness all around. This is a stark image of his reality. He was the most famous entertainer in the world, constantly on a stage. But when the show was over and the audience was gone, he was left with emptiness. And you stood there laughing when I said, I love you. This is a moment of pure heartbreak and humiliation. His declaration of love, the most vulnerable thing a person can say, is met with laughter. It is a complete and utter rejection. The most famous version of this section comes from a 1969 live recording in Las Vegas. During the spoken part, Elvis sees a bald man in the front row putting on a toupee. He starts to laugh. He cannot stop. He completely falls apart, giggling uncontrollably through the lines. The audience roars. It's a funny, human moment. But it's also incredibly sad. He is in the middle of a speech about his deepest heartbreak, about being laughed at on stage, and he is overcome by a fit of laughter that makes him unable to continue. The line between tragedy and comedy completely collapses. The pain of the lyrics is real. The emptiness he describes is real. But it all gets lost in a joke. His own life had become a performance, and he could no longer keep the mask from slipping. The final lines of the song are devastating. Honey, you lied when you said you loved me, and I had no cause to doubt you. But I'd rather go on hearing your lies than to go on living without you. He is admitting he would prefer a comforting lie to a painful truth. He is so desperate for connection, so terrified of being alone, that he will accept a fake love over no love at all. This speaks directly to the world he lived in. He was surrounded by people who were paid to be his friends, to agree with him, to laugh at his jokes. Was their affection real, or was it all a performance? A lie he was willing to accept because the alternative true loneliness was too much to bear. The song is not just a ballad about lost love. It's a confession from a man who lived his life on a bare stage, surrounded by emptiness, willing to accept any illusion to keep the loneliness at bay. Number 9. What's the real price of a good luck charm? Good Luck Charm was a #1 hit for Elvis in 1962. It's a light, breezy pop song with a simple, catchy melody. He tells a girl that she is his good luck charm, like a 4-leaf clover or a rabbit's foot. Because of her, he feels he can't lose. It's sweet and optimistic, but the concept of a good luck charm is rooted in superstition and fear. People carry them because they are afraid of bad luck. They need an external object to give them confidence, to protect them from the unknown. A good luck charm is a crutch. It's not a source of genuine strength, but a defense against perceived weakness. The song is a fantasy of control in a life that was spinning out of it. By 1962, Elvis was on the Hollywood treadmill. He was making formulaic movies, and his music was becoming safer and more predictable. He had very little say in his own career path. He was a product being managed by the Colonel, placing all the power for his happiness and success onto another person. You're my good luck charm is a heavy burden. It's also a way of avoiding personal responsibility. If she is the source of his good luck, then what happens if she leaves? His luck will run out. His success is not his own. It is dependent on her presence. This reflects the dependent relationships Elvis often had in his life. He depended on his mother for emotional stability. After her death, he searched for others to fill that role. He depended on Colonel Parker for his career success, even when the Colonel's decisions were hurting him artistically. He surrounded himself with the Memphis Mafia, depending on them for companionship and a buffer from the outside world. Come on and be my little good luck charm, to have and to hold. He wants to possess this person, to keep her close, not just for love, but for the magical protection she offers. This turns a person into an object, a talisman. It's a selfish kind of love, based on what the other person can do for you. The song, with its cheerful whistling and carefree vibe, hides a narrative of anxiety. It's the song of a man who feels he is not in control of his own destiny. He needs a magic charm to get by. He believes his success is not due to his talent or hard work, but to an external magical force embodied by a woman. This is a fragile and fearful way to live. What happens when the charm stops working? The bright, sunny sound of the song masks a deep-seated insecurity. It's the sound of a man whistling in the dark, hoping the magic doesn't run out. Number 8. Why is he looking for lost love in the Kentucky Rain? Recorded in 1969 during his legendary Memphis sessions, Kentucky Rain marked a major return to form for Elvis. It's a dramatic, soulful song with a powerful narrative. The story is clear. A man is walking and hitchhiking through the cold Kentucky rain, desperately searching for a woman who left him. The song is a mini-movie. You can feel the cold rain, see the passing headlights, and hear the desperation in his voice. He has been searching for days. He is tired, hungry, and getting soaked, but he refuses to give up. The production is huge. Strings, a choir, a driving piano, it all builds to a powerful emotional climax. The tragedy here is not hidden, it's right on the surface. But the depth of it is often missed. This is not just a song about a man looking for his girlfriend. It's a song about a man searching for something he has lost that he can likely never get back. The rain is more than just weather. It is a symbol of his sorrow washing over everything. The setting, rural Kentucky, is important. It evokes a sense of being lost in a vast, empty landscape. He is alone, far from home, in a hostile environment. This mirrors the emotional landscape of loss. 7 lonely days and a dozen pounds ago, I reached out one night, and you were gone. The loss was sudden and unexplained. He was left with a void. His search is a frantic attempt to undo that moment, to turn back time. But the further he walks, the more hopeless it seems. The key to the tragedy is his motivation. He says he's looking for her to be warm and dry and safe again. But he's also looking for his own salvation. He believes that finding her will fix everything. She is the answer to his pain. He has placed the entire burden of his happiness on this one person. This reflects a pattern in Elvis's own life. After his mother's death and later his divorce from Priscilla, he seemed to be searching for a perfect idealized love that could heal him. He was looking for someone who could make him feel safe and whole again, but that is too much to ask of any one person. The happiness and safety he was searching for had to come from within. His vocal performance is one of his best. You can hear the exhaustion and the raw desperation when he sings the line, "But I've got to find her and find her soon." His voice cracks with emotion. It's the sound of a man at the end of his rope. The song offers no resolution. We don't know if he ever finds her. It just ends with him still walking, still searching in the cold Kentucky rain, and that's the real tragedy. The search itself is the story. He is trapped in a cycle of desperate hope and repeated disappointment. It's a powerful metaphor for a man looking for something outside of himself to fix the emptiness he feels on the inside. Number 7. Who is the prisoner in the Ghetto? In the Ghetto, released in 1969, was a brave and controversial song for Elvis. It was a message song, a story about the cycle of poverty and despair. Written by Mac Davis, it tells the story of a boy born to a poor mother in a Chicago ghetto. He grows up hungry, learns to steal and fight, and eventually is killed, just as another baby is born in the ghetto to continue the cycle. Elvis fought to record this song. Colonel Parker was against it, thinking it was too political and would alienate his conservative fan base. But Elvis insisted. He felt the song was important. His performance is sincere, tender, and full of empathy. He doesn't preach. He just tells the story. The tragedy is obvious. The story of a life wasted, a system that traps people in poverty. But there is a deeper, more personal tragedy hidden within Elvis's connection to the song. Elvis himself was born into extreme poverty. The two-room shotgun shack in Tupelo, Mississippi was not much different from the world described in the song. He knew what it was like to be hungry. He knew what it was like to feel trapped by your circumstances. His family moved to Memphis in search of a better life, living in public housing projects. He was the boy who escaped the ghetto. When he sings this song, he is not just an observer. He is singing about a life that could have been his. He is the ghost of the boy who got out. This gives his performance an incredible weight. He is not just feeling sympathy for the character in the song, he is feeling a kind of survivor's guilt. And his mama cries, because if there's one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto. He had an intensely close relationship with his own mother, Gladys. He knew the sacrifices she made and the constant worry she lived with. He is singing about his own mother's fears. The song's central tragedy is the cycle. It never ends. And another little baby with a hungry face is born in the ghetto. And Elvis broke the cycle for himself and his family. He achieved unimaginable wealth and success. But did he truly escape? In a way, he just traded one ghetto for another. He became trapped in the gilded ghetto of fame. He was isolated, controlled by his manager, and unable to live a normal life. He was a prisoner of his own success. The boy in the song is trapped by poverty. Elvis was trapped by wealth. Both were unable to be free. So when he sings In the Ghetto, he is singing a story about two prisoners. The boy trapped by the streets of Chicago and the man trapped by the walls of Graceland. It's a song of profound empathy, born from the knowledge that the walls of a prison can be made of many different things. Number 6. What if the Suspicious Minds were his own? Suspicious Minds was Elvis's final #1 hit in the United States, released in 1969. It is a masterpiece of tension and release. The song describes a relationship being destroyed by a lack of trust. We can't go on together with suspicious minds, and we can't build our dreams on suspicious minds. The song is a passionate plea to save the relationship. The music builds and builds. The tempo changes, and Elvis's vocal performance is desperate and powerful. He is begging his partner to see that their love can be saved if they can just stop doubting each other. The conventional interpretation is that the song is about a romantic relationship falling apart. By 1969, his marriage to Priscilla was already strained. The pressures of his career and their separate lives were taking a toll. The song certainly reflects that personal turmoil. But the tragedy of Suspicious Minds is wider. It's about his relationship with everyone. Who could he trust? His manager, Colonel Parker, was controlling his career and taking a huge percentage of his earnings. The Colonel was the one who initially didn't want this song released. The producer, Chips Moman, had to fight him. The famous fade out and fade in at the end of the song was a production trick, but it also sounds like the relationship is dying and then being desperately revived for one last chorus. Think of his entourage, the Memphis Mafia. They were his friends, but they were also his employees. Their livelihood depended on him. Could he trust their advice and friendship completely? Or were they just telling him what he wanted to hear? The song's key line is, "We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby." This was the trap of his entire life. He was trapped by his fame. He was trapped by his obligations. He was trapped by the Colonel's contracts. He couldn't walk out because he loved performing. He loved his fans. He loved the life it gave his family. He loved it too much. The Suspicious Minds were not just his and Priscilla's. They belonged to everyone around him. And perhaps, most tragically, they were his own. He was a deeply spiritual man, but he also had his demons. He was known to be generous, but he could also be deeply insecure. He was suspicious of people's motives. And he was likely suspicious of himself. Could he live up to the myth of Elvis Presley? Was he still good enough? The song is the anthem of his gilded cage, a passionate, desperate cry from a man who feels trapped by the very life he built. He is surrounded by people, yet he's utterly alone in his prison of mistrust. He sees the trap, he knows he's in it, but he can't escape. Number 5 is Always on My Mind, an apology or an excuse. And Elvis recorded Always on My Mind in 1972, just a few weeks after he and Priscilla separated. The timing is everything. The song was not written for him, but he makes it entirely his own. His performance is incredibly raw and vulnerable. It sounds less like a performance and more like a direct, painful confession. The lyrics are an apology from a man who knows he has failed his partner. Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. Maybe I didn't love you quite as often as I could have. He lists his failings. He was preoccupied. He didn't say the right things. He didn't do enough. But then comes the chorus, you were always on my mind. This is the song's tragic core. Is it a heartfelt apology, or is it a subtle excuse? He is saying that even when he was absent, even when he was failing, his love was still there in his thoughts. He is asking for credit for the love he felt but did not show. This is the tragedy of a man who is unable to translate his internal feelings into external actions. He loved Priscilla, he loved his daughter Lisa Marie, but his life, the touring, the recording, the pressures of being Elvis got in the way. He was a man who was constantly pulled away from the people he loved most. He lived in his own world, a strange bubble of fame. Little things I should have said and done. I just never took the time. This is a heartbreaking admission of regret. He had all the money and resources in the world, but he didn't have, or didn't take the time. Time was the one thing his fame consumed. The song is a plea for forgiveness. Tell me that your sweet love hasn't died. Give me one more chance to keep you satisfied. But it's a plea that comes too late. The damage has been done. He knows it. You can hear the resignation in his voice. He is hoping for a second chance, but he doesn't really expect to get one. This is not just about one marriage. It's about a life of missed connections. A life lived in the spotlight is a life lived away from the quiet, simple moments that build a relationship. He was always on stage, always on. When did he have time to just be a husband or a father? Always on my mind is the sound of a man looking back at the wreckage of his personal life and trying to explain himself. He is saying, I did love you, even if you couldn't see it. It is a profoundly sad and lonely statement. It's the anthem of a man who had the love in his heart, but could not make it real in the world. The greatest tragedy is not that he didn't love, it's that he didn't know how to show it. Number 4, what is he burning down in Burning Love? Released in 1972, Burning Love was Elvis's last major hit single in his lifetime. It's a fantastic high-energy rock and roll song. It's fun, it's loud, and it sounds like a joyous celebration of passion. Lord Almighty, I feel my temperature rising. Higher and higher, it's burning through to my soul. On the surface, it's a song about lust and desire. A man so full of passion that he is metaphorically on fire. It was a much-needed return to his rock and roll roots after years of ballads and movie soundtracks. But the language of the song is violent and destructive. I'm just a hunk of burning love. He is not a person, he is an object, a piece of meat, being consumed by fire. Fire is uncontrollable, it destroys whatever it touches. This is not a gentle, warming love. It is a raging inferno. By 1972, Elvis's life was a bonfire of excess. His health was beginning to fail. His reliance on prescription medication was growing. His diet was famously unhealthy. He was living a life of extremes. He was burning himself out. The burning love in the song can be seen as a metaphor for his own self-destructive lifestyle. The very things that gave him pleasure, the food, the pills, the adoration of the crowd, were also the things that were destroying him. He was being consumed by his own appetites. You're going to set me on fire. He is not in control of the flame. It is something being done to him. He is a willing victim of this burning passion. This reflects his passive acceptance of the destructive patterns in his life. He seemed unable or unwilling to stop them. The performance itself is manic. He sings with a wild, almost frantic energy. It's the sound of a man running on fumes, pushing himself to the limit. The song is exciting, but it's also exhausting to listen to. It feels like a last great burst of energy before the flame goes out. This was his last great rock and roll statement. And it was a song about being consumed by a fire he couldn't control. It's a party on the edge of a volcano. Everyone is dancing and singing along, ignoring the fact that the man at the center of it all is being burned alive. The song is not a celebration of life. It's a joyous, rocking, terrifying celebration of self-destruction. The sound of a man going down in a blaze of glory. Number 3 is Muddy Blue, about a woman or himself. Muddy Blue was the title track of Elvis's final studio album, released in 1977, the year he died. The song describes a mysterious and unpredictable woman. One minute she's warm and loving, the next she's cold and distant. He never knows which version of her he's gonna get. She's a complicated lady, so color my baby Moody Blue. The song has a strange modern for the time arrangement, with a disco beat and synthesizers mixed with country elements. It feels disjointed, which perfectly matches the subject matter. It's a song about instability, but the true tragedy of Muddy Blue becomes clear when you realize he could have been singing about himself. In the last years of his life, Elvis's own behavior was famously erratic. His moods could swing wildly. One moment he could be generous and funny, the next sullen and angry. His health problems and his dependence on prescription drugs were taking a heavy toll on his physical and mental state. That soulful song of the summer night, then you turn colder than a winter's light. This describes his own performances in those final years. Some nights he could still be brilliant, his voice as powerful as ever. On other nights he was bloated, tired, and struggling to remember the words to his own songs. The audience never knew which Elvis they were going to get. He was the complicated one. He was the one who was Muddy Blue. The song is an external projection of his own internal chaos. It's easier to sing about a difficult woman than to confront the turmoil within himself. The lyrics paint a picture of a man confused and frustrated by the behavior of someone he loves. Lord, you're the most unpredictable woman I've ever known. This was the frustration his friends and family must have felt with him. They loved him, but they couldn't control him or predict his behavior. They were walking on eggshells around him. The song was a hit, but it's a difficult listen now, knowing what was to come. It's a cry for help disguised as a pop song. He is describing his own symptoms, his own unpredictability, but attributing them to someone else. He is diagnosing his own sickness, but refusing to own it. Muddy Blue is the sound of a man who is lost inside himself. He no longer recognizes the person he has become. The stable, confident young man was gone, replaced by a confusing and unpredictable stranger. He was singing about the mystery of a moody woman, but the real mystery was the one he saw in the mirror every day. Number 2, What If the Way Down was his own life? Way Down was the last single released during Elvis's lifetime. It was on the charts when he died in August 1977. After his death, it shot to number 1 in the UK. The song is an upbeat, rollicking rock and roll number. It has a driving beat and a famous deep bass vocal from J.D. Sumner on the chorus, singing the words, way on down. The lyrics describe a passionate, all-consuming love affair. The woman's love makes him feel like he's going way down, 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 down. On the surface, it's a fun, slightly suggestive song about physical passion, but in the context of his life in 1977, the lyrics are chilling. Way Down became an unintentional, tragic summary of his final years. His health, his career, his spirit, everything was going way down. All my resistance is lying on the floor. In the last phase of his life, he had lost the will to fight the things that were destroying him. He had surrendered to his bad habits, his isolation, and his illness. He was no longer resisting the slide. I can feel it, I'm going down. This is a stark, terrifying admission. He sings it with a kind of cheerful resignation. It's the sound of a man who knows he's in a nosedive, and has decided to just enjoy the ride. The music is upbeat and energetic, creating a horrifying contrast with the reality of his situation. He was performing this song on stage in his final concerts, a bloated and sick man singing a happy-sounding song about his own decline. The audience clapped and cheered, not realizing they were witnessing a public confession. The deep voice of J.D. Sumner, hitting a note so low it sounds like it's coming from the grave, is the song's most haunting element. That, "Way On Down," is not just a musical gimmick. It is the sound of the abyss calling. It is the sound of the final destination. "Way Down" is perhaps the most tragic song in his entire catalog because of its timing. It was his final statement to the world, and it was a lie wrapped in a truth. The lie was the upbeat, fun sound of the record. The truth was in the words. He was telling us exactly what was happening to him. He was on his way down, and he knew it. The song is his own epitaph, set to a rock and roll beat, a final heartbreaking party on the way to the bottom. Number 1, Can You Find Solace in a Crying Chapel? Elvis first recorded Crying in the Chapel in 1960, but it was not released until 1965 when it became a surprise hit. It's a gospel song, a gentle, reverent ballad about finding peace and solace in a church. The singer goes to the chapel not to pray, but because he feels a need. He is sad and troubled. Inside he finds peace, and his burdens seem to roll away. The song is a beautiful expression of faith. But the core image is one of profound isolation. He goes to the chapel alone. He is not part of a congregation. He is not sharing his faith with a community. He is a solitary figure seeking a private moment of peace. You'll see me crying in the chapel. It's a place for his tears. This is the story of Elvis's own spirituality. He was a deeply religious man. He loved gospel music more than any other genre. It was the music that sustained him. But his faith was a private, often lonely affair. He couldn't just go to a local church. He was Elvis Presley. He would rent out amusement parks at night so he could ride the rides. He would rent out movie theaters to watch films. He did the same with his faith. It had to happen in private, away from the crowds. His connection with God was a one-on-one relationship because his relationships with people were so complicated. The tragedy of the song is that the only place he can find peace is by being completely alone in a quiet room with his tears. The world outside the chapel is too loud, too demanding, too full of pain. I've searched and I've searched, but I couldn't find no way on earth to gain peace of mind. He is saying that peace is not available in the world of the living, in the world of human relationships. It can only be found in a solitary spiritual encounter. This was the blueprint for his life. He would retreat further and further into his own private world at Graceland. He would seek solace in spiritual books, in late-night conversations with his friends, and in gospel music. But he was always searching for a peace that the outside world could not offer. The song is hopeful. He finds his peace, but it's a temporary, fleeting peace. He has to leave the chapel and go back out into the world. And the song suggests that he will have to return again and again to cry and unburden himself. It is a beautiful, sad song about a lonely faith. The song of a man who could connect with millions of people from a stage, but who could only find true peace when he was completely, utterly alone. He found his solace not in the cheers of the crowd, but in the silence of an empty room, where the only sound was his own crying.